Hello. We just had another Minecraft Live this year. And whilst the drop that was announced was rather interesting, the show was rather, well, not showing. And that's okay. I just have a few brief thoughts on Mounts of Mayhem and Minecraft Live. Minecraft Live itself has been a very experimental thing for many years now, stemming from the original Minecons, Minecraft Earth, and many variations of Minecraft Live. In recent years, we have seen a bit more direction in realizing the audience isn't all children, so it's been a lot less hyper and screamy and, you know, all the fun things they've done historically. I am not going to bring up examples, because they're already scarred into your brain if you've watched those shows. The most recent violation of this we've seen is that gosh damn Happy Ghast song. But you know, it's the Happy Ghast, so I'm willing to let that slide. So, with the new drop system and 2 shows a year, that provides an exciting thing to look forward to. However, the show, besides elements like the update news and the pre-community show, everything else seems to be lacking, because of course this is a platform to celebrate the community and what they as a game have done themselves. But there's a lot of stuff that felt like fluff in a very short show, which is concerning because we've cut down from hours of content, well, they have cut down from hours of content that was filled with fluff to 20 to 30 minutes still filled with fluff, which, you know, that's their Herculean task to deal with. So is having 2 shows a year too much? I don't think so. I just think they need to find a measure that's more engaging and sincere with the community. I do appreciate that there was a lot less marketplace stuff directly in the main show, only like one Dragon Ball collaboration. So it's interesting to see how they will evolve the shows further. I do think the mob vote was a big part of tying the shows together historically, at least in terms of engaging the community. So now we don't have something like that, we just really have the drop. For me personally, it was interesting seeing like the foley and like sound design behind like the Copper Age kind of stuff. But more dev interviews just about like the feel of the game or what they want to do would be amazing, but that's just me personally. Onto the drop itself. For me, this is a drop that is somewhat exciting, but not revolutionary. Essentially being the aquatic version of the Happy Ghast drop. Which I enjoy the Happy Ghast, so that is not a misnomer for me. So we have the Nautilus, which is a cool snail tentacle guy who just chills in the water. And we even have a terrifying zombie variant of that with a drowned rider with a trident, which is going to be painful. That is going to be one of the most obnoxious things they ever add to the game, and we're going to all have to deal with it. But to compensate, we have tameable Nautiluses, which are essentially our water version of the Happy Ghast, letting us zoom around, presumably not that fast, but giving us breathing, and letting us actually explore the ocean environment in a much more amicable way. Which I appreciate, especially for people who want to build underwater more. And I think that's what they're trying to incentivize. They did this initially in 1.16 with the Nether update, which they added respawn anchors and functions like that to make the Nether a much more incentivized place to build, because before that, I don't think players were spending time there. I still don't think they are, but you know, there was an effort. Similarly, I think the Happy Ghast is like, hey, you can build bigger builds more easy, you can get around scaffolding. So, potentially, not to be an end update truther, but I feel like they're trying to make more areas of the game more buildable or more incentivized to be buildable. So, building underwater is going to be a lot easier. Of course, conduits maybe were an attempt at that in the past. It'll be interesting to see how that progresses, and if that is their goal, trying to make the sandbox more sandbox. It's a genius revolution of thought there, I know. Furthermore, the drop itself was unfortunately basically leaked beforehand. Not everything in its entirety, but we practically knew the spear, and we knew vaguely the Nautilus vibes. Which is a subjective topic, right? Leaks. I feel like a lot of people love leaks because they build up hype. There's this like gamble of like, is it just speculation or is there some truth to this? And even then, we're only getting like a few words, so we don't know completely. Like when they tell us spear can be interpreted in so many ways of like how that functionality would work. Because I don't think anyone was like expecting like the horizontal mace equivalent. Which is maybe not a fair comparison, but is the most simplistic one, so I'm going to go with that. So for me personally, the leaks are kinda... I'm not a big fan of it. I do like the side where it brings a lot of community together in terms of speculation and engagement, but for me, it just ruins the vibe, because then, you know, the shows, they're already lacking gravitas as it is, and then having the leaks take away from their central focal point and just being like confirmation of what the leaks have already said is disappointing. That being said, it is possible to avoid leaks. A lot more YouTubers are being a bit more ethical about it, I think, with thumbnails and stuff, or at least trying to. However, of course, that is not going to stop a lot of creators. So it's not easy to avoid, and also mentally, like if you're a person very engaged in this game, you want to see the new things, regardless of if you don't want to see the leaks. I don't know, at least for me, I find myself in that dilemma quite often, which is a me thing, might not be a you thing. Otherwise, the zombie horse, finally, you know, IBX Toycat said in 2017 we'd be getting it in a few years, and I guess they listened. 8 years is a few years, don't worry guys. We got this. Thanks Toycat, that's all you. But zombie horse with zombies on them riding with spears, as an equivalent to like the skeleton horse riders, is really fun. I also think that's just cool, giving zombies a more terrifying use of like, oh my god, there's a zombie with a pointy stick. He's gonna get me. But yeah, I do think they've done a good job of setting up Mounts of Mayhem compared to a lot of other updates in the past. It gets the vibe across very clear. And especially, we've had this era of not wanting to show the name of the update for a while. So getting a clear theme across of like, hey, this is about mounts, as in new zombie horse, new Nautilus creature, and some mayhem. That sets the stage. I don't think there's going to be many more features, just given the track record of drops. And that is an interesting concession, is the drop system. Do you guys think it has been more successful for your experience playing the game? It is kind of crazy to me, like, we are hearing about things so in advance now. Like, we haven't even got the copyright yet. We almost do. But we're hearing about the next update. Obviously, there are a lot more smaller and a lot more digestible feature bundles, which I think for a lot of people would work well. As honestly, sometimes updates are so overwhelming that you don't get to features for years. I don't think that's a common side of what is often said about Minecraft updates, though. Importantly, I do not want to advocate for the Mojang is lazy argument. I think that's rather silly. And I don't know, you know, negativity doesn't really get us anywhere. Critique is important, but the game has already done so much, for me personally, that, you know, new updates are just a blessing. As long as they, you know, don't devastate what we already have and don't throw the game out of balance. But the privilege of being on a platform like Java is you can select what update to play in. But yeah, to wrap up this ramble, which I haven't done a video like this since 2021, really. There are a few projects coming down the line. Primarily Staria Episode 3. It's taking a while because it's a massive project. I've completed stage 1 of 3, in it, ironically, and it'll probably be a month or two before that comes out. I'm not saying like crazy hardcore project, but crazy project for a Jardons video. Otherwise, Savannah is technically recorded, but needs a lot of editing that I don't have time for. We'll get to that one day. And otherwise, peace out. This was a very mixed ramble. I didn't really say much of anything. But you know, that's the job, right? Subscribe if you want to see more shit like this, I suppose. And let me know your personal thoughts on this update.